Hi, good morning. Yes, good morning, good morning. Good morning. It is I, your host. Wait, here we go. Good morning, it is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo, with yet another episode of Redstone, Lapis, Lazuli. Yeah, here, let's switch here. Alright, hey, here I am. Man, I can't believe I'm here again. Alright, here I am again. Today, look at this amazing thing right here. This is amazing. You know what? I haven't seen this anywhere else. I got this is, what are you looking at? This here is an inline water, non-stackable item sorter. What it does, and this is by a guy named Golden Helmet 403. He doesn't have many people on his channel, but man, this thing is like incredible. This is incredible technology. So what does it do? What does it do? Things will fly into here, and some of the things that fly into here are going to be non-stackable, like golden swords. Well, you can't deal with golden swords. You can't deal with non-stackable items. So the goal is to get rid of those things while keeping everything else. So to that end, let's look here. All right, this massive thing is, oh yeah, let me change this to all chat. All chat. This massive thing here, let me say hi to all chat here. Hi everyone. All right, this thing here is a gold farm by Silent Whisperer. And it works good, right? It's a gold farm. It works good. But like all gold farms on Bedrock, what happens is that you end up getting a lot of golden swords that you can't deal with. Like too many golden swords. I mean, this thing's basic, right? It's you've all seen it, how it works. It's the same. It's the same idea, right? A massive portal. A massive nether portal. Every time a nether portal appears, it has a chance of spawning a pigman, a zombie pigman. And when zombie pigmen die, they drop gold nuggets, gold swords, gold ingots, and rotten flesh. So the key, and then plus, yeah, so as soon as you make a portal, then this contraption there breaks it. This thing here breaks it. It's spamming out powdered snow, which breaks the portal, and then the portal is relit by lava back behind the behind those trapdoors, and the trapdoors burn. They burn, and then that burning here, you can see the lava behind it, and the burning relights the portal, and then it gets broken again. So by doing this quickly, you can generate a lot of pigmen, zombie pigmen. So the goal with all this is to get zombie pigmen. They come into this chamber where they're mashed up. They're mashed up, and their drops are put into that hopper. You can't see it with let me turn off the filters or the shaders. So the drops are put into those hoppers, and they go down, and they go into this water stream, and you can see them flowing in there. And then out the other. So if there's golden swords, you don't want the golden swords. So what this does is it finds the golden swords and then kicks them out, and then puts the rest of the good stuff along. So like, you can see it working. The stuff comes out, the golden sword goes in, but it doesn't come out. So that is made possible. I mean, it's kind of slow because we're on normal, right? It's not on hard mode, which would increase everything. But it's on normal mode because I'm playing with a little kid who like dies all the time anyways. Even on normal mode, he dies all the time. So, and so why make it harder, right? You know, no need to make it harder on him. So I just play on normal mode, which reduces the number of drops I get from farms, but that's okay. Anyways, the point is that this machine here, catches all the golden swords that come through, filters them out, shoots them into lava back here, while everything else gets routed back into the water stream. So again, like it's pretty bad drop rates in normal mode, but you can see all those golden swords go, and then they're gonna get kicked out here. Well, eventually. Let me see. Wait for a golden sword to come up. So if this were hard mode, like they would always be dropping golden swords. So you would have to get rid of them, and this is the way to do it. It's pretty neat. Here, let me go up here and turn this off. It's loud, right? Okay. So that's what that does. Pretty neat, right? Pretty spiffy. Now, the problem was I had forgotten about a lot of Bedrock stuff because I haven't been playing Bedrock very much. So I quickly made, like, examples of hopper clocks. So on both Java and Bedrock, this is your standard dropper clock. You have your dropper here. It has two solid blocks connected to it, and it has a comparator, not on negative, comparator reading the dropper through this block. And then whenever it finds something inside the dropper, it'll shoot out a signal to the repeater, which puts a signal into this block. This block powers this redstone line, which feeds back here and lights up the dropper, which shoots out the item. It also kills the signal because it feeds back in. So it kills the signal as it shoots that out. But then the comparator will find another item in, and it'll repeat the cycle. And so, for example, it just goes at standard speed. That's a normal speed dropper clock. Yay! So that's how a lot of Minecraft is. Individual blocks by themselves don't do much. You have to combine them with other blocks in a certain pattern to make it functional. So here's another one. This is double speed. This is the same thing. It's a dropper clock, but it does double speed because it's using observers that are looking at each other. And whenever they detect a block update, they put out a redstone signal there. And it's pretty quick, right? It's a fast one. So here we can do it like right now. See, it's faster. That's because the comparator sees something inside, puts out a redstone signal, which powers the piston to raise it up. The observers are looking at each other and detecting that each others are updating, and so every time it does that, it puts out a redstone signal, which then powers this block, which powers the dropper. Now, a little more advanced ones I learned from a guy named Navy Nexus. Navy Nexus. These are double speed dropper clocks. It's the same idea. Items are in the dropper. They're detected by the redstone signal. It puts out a redstone signal into this slime block. The slime block then powers this redstone right here, which powers this block, which raises up the piston. It's the slime block has this regular block attached to it, and the observer is looking at it. So every time it goes up, it detects a change and puts out a redstone signal into this block, which powers the dropper. Pretty cool. And it's quick. You see how quick it is? Okay. And finally, this is the last one I have from Navy Nexus. I took all these from his other videos. Yeah, so this is another dropper clock. So the comparator reads the dropper through the block, puts out a signal to this repeater, which lights up this guy, and then this guy sees what's happening, and detects it, I guess, and then puts out his redstone signal, which feeds back into this thing, which depowers this and repowers this redstone block, which powers and depowers that, which makes this thing go. It's pretty quick. So These only work on Bedrock, unfortunately. So that's the thing, right? You have to, like, Java and Bedrock have two different systems for Redstone. So it looks like the same game, but they're not. They're not at all the same game because the Redstone works differently. Not only do the Redstone work differently, but also the iron farms work differently. So this is an iron farm in Bedrock, which looks a lot different than the iron farm in Java. The iron farm in Java doesn't, like, is a lot more compact, a lot smaller. But iron farms in Bedrock require a village to exist. So you need to have a bunch of villagers there so they can be villagers, and then they'll spawn the golems, which are appearing above me. And the golems are centered upon the bed, so it matters where you put the beds at. But yeah, that's how it works. And there's a guy right there right now. Yay! And he will die, drop his ingots, and put it in that hopper there. So pretty basic stuff, pretty basic Minecraft stuff. I mean, it's not basic, right? You have to know what's going on. I'm playing with a 7-year-old kid. He doesn't know anything. Like, this is what he made. Like, it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't do anything. But that's not the point. The point is that he's just playing. He's just experimenting. But we can see here, right? The lever puts out a redstone signal of 15, power 15. So that means it can go 15 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That would be the last block normally. But, and you can see, right? You can tell that it's sparkling. Oh, but this guy's here is also putting out a 15 in that direction, so it makes it the whole way. If we turn this one off, you can see the redstone signal goes to about there. Oh, maybe to here, apparently. Or no, here. You can barely see the difference, but here's where it ends. That's 15 blocks. And then here, no more. No more. There's nothing here. No redstone. So this is his house. I've been working on his house more than he has. But that's okay. Right? That's how you teach someone to play Minecraft, is that they don't really know what they're doing. You have to show them. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I had to watch all these videos to learn about all this stuff. Like, I would have had no way of learning about this stuff unless I watched videos on Minecraft. Alright. So yeah. That's Minecraft. Now Minecraft is the vehicle that I use, the canvas I use to help explain abstract concepts to people. It's a lot easier if you can actually see stuff than if I just talk about it. But a lot about what I talk about isn't something that can be visually represented very easily. So like Minecraft, I don't know how good of it's how important it is to my presentation. At any rate, let's just sit here and observe stuff, and I'm going to go through the news because that's really what's important, right? I'm not doing this to play Minecraft. I'm doing this to inform the American people of the dynamics going on in our country. Because it's very, very important, because we're under grave danger. We're in grave danger. And like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, right? It's a Sunday morning. We're in America. How could we be in grave danger? Well, because there are forces in the world that are seeking to destroy our country. And they have gained a number of powerful allies inside the United States. So let me get to it. Oh wait, I have to show it in front view. All right, this is a Twitter message from Stuart Stevens, but it encapsulates what's going on in the United States. So, quickly, 2016, Russia helps elect Trump. For the first time in U.S. history, a hostile foreign power has an American ally in the White House. 8 years later, Republicans are helping Russia wage a genocidal war against European democracy. It is the greatest shift in America's stance in the world since 1776. A major U.S. party has joined forces with a nuclear power waging war against democracy. If Republicans prevail in helping Russia, what it means to be an American will be forever changed. A shroud of shame will descend upon the legacy of the greatest generation. They fought to liberate Europe. Republicans are fighting to enslave a European democracy. So what spawned this? Why did he say that? Because, quote, the U.S. is a fat buffalo trying to take a nap as hungry wolves approach, the European ambassador mused. I can hear those champagne bottle corks popping in Moscow like it's Christmas every fucking day. What are they talking about? What are they talking about? Remember, so the United States isn't alone in the world as a democracy. It shared, like other nations, after the United States became the first modern country to engage in democracy, other nations followed suit. They were inspired by the American project to create democracy. And so they started doing democracy too. But remember, democracy is a threat to monarchs and to despots and to dictators. They do not like democracy because what democracy does is it places the power in the hands of the people, whereas a dictator wants all the power to be in their own hands and no power to the people. So the existence of democracy is a threat to dictators all over the world. Russia is a dictatorship. Russia is a dictatorship. It's ruled by a man named Vladimir Putin. Now Russia may pretend to have elections, but they're all fake elections because no candidate ever has a chance of defeating Vladimir Putin. So don't be tricked by Russia's fake elections. Russia is a dictatorship, and its enemy is the United States and the other European democracies. So in the 1940s, there was a major threat to democracy. Germany lost its democracy and became a dictatorship under Adolf Hitler. And then Adolf Hitler teamed up with dictators around the world, like in Italy, Mussolini, and in Japan, Hirohito. But I don't think anyways, to attack democracy all over the world because democracy is a threat to dictatorships. And America and her allies were able to defend democracy against dictatorship. And everyone's like, yay, 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 yay. Okay. But now, Russia is a dictatorship. And it is attacking another European nation, another democratic nation, European nation. So, yeah, America should defend European democracy from dictatorship. However, this time it's changed. It changed because Donald Trump asked for and received help from Russia, the Russian government, in 2016 in order to get power, and it succeeded. Even though Donald Trump lost the popular vote, the Russians were able to identify key districts that had to be flipped in order to tip the election to Donald Trump. So even though the majority of people wanted Hillary Clinton, by the fucked up rules of the United States, Donald Trump took power. And once Donald Trump took power, he began to dismantle democracy in the United States. He began to dismantle democracy in the rest of the world by cozying up to dictators around the world and shunning America's traditional democratic allies. He's gone so far, Donald Trump has gone so far as to say that he would abandon NATO, the NATO treaty. What's the NATO treaty? It's a treaty between all the democracies to defend one another if they get attacked. So Donald Trump said, yeah, I'm not going to honor that treaty because, remember, Donald Trump is a dictator. He wants to be a dictator. So it's a serious threat. It's a ginormous threat. And the threat hasn't gone away because no consequences have befallen Donald Trump yet. Like, it seems kind of incredible that that Donald Trump could stage an insurrection and still be able to run for president like 8 years later. But that shows you how deeply entrenched the anti-democratic forces are in the United States. We have a lot of strong anti-democratic people. Like, the Republican Party is essentially an arm of the Russian government at this point. So yeah, I mean, like, it's a serious threat. Now, what is the goal? Like, what is the American project? It is to bring multiracial democracy to the world, to show that we can invest the power in the people, and that all people can be free and have a voice in their government. Which is the opposite of dictatorship. Dictatorship says no. Humans are incapable of governing themselves, and they require a strong leader to tell them what to do. And they do not entrust any power in the people, dictatorship says. So yeah, so now we're in the world, right? We have these two competing visions of society. One vision is to invest the power in the people, and the other vision is to take away power from the people and invest it into a dictatorship. But look at, and I said, right? I said that the Republicans are on Team Russia, and it's true. Look at their main dude. Rightists love Tucker Carlson. The Nazis love Tucker Carlson because they recognize Tucker Carlson as one of their own. And here's Tucker Carlson. Just yesterday, he was in Moscow. So Tucker Carlson is flying to Moscow, the enemy of the United States, in order to get more information to use against the Americans. He's teaming up with the Russians. Oh man. So many here. Look what Russia's trying to do. So, as you know, every election year, whenever an election comes around, Republicans bring up migrant caravans every election. It only happens during the election where they get migrant caravans, and they only do that because Donald Trump wants to run on immigration. Like, he was going to run on the economy, but the economy is doing great, so he can't really run on that. So instead, he's going to run on immigration. To that end, he has instructed the Republican Party not to solve the immigration problem. He's telling the Republicans, look, whatever you do, Republicans, don't fix immigration. I want to run on immigration, and if you fix it, I can't run on it. So Donald Trump told the Republicans, don't fix immigration. And of course, Mike Johnson listens to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is his leader. So Mike Johnson is going to sabotage any attempt to solve the border problem. Or, like, it's not even a problem, right? I mean, it's been a problem for like decades. It's been a problem for a really, really long time. They haven't modernized our immigration system in forever. So yeah, they need to solve it. They need to hand more money over to immigration and hire more people so that people can be processed and immigration works smoothly. As it is now, it takes years and years and years to legally immigrate to the United States. And there's no way, like, and that's because the immigration system in the United States is fucked up. It's all messed up. It shouldn't take years and years and years to immigrate to the United States, but because our immigration system is messed up, it does. So yeah, sure, you want to, it makes sense to fix our immigration system, but Donald Trump has told his people, don't fix it because he wants to run on it. Well, how's he going to run on it? Remember, Donald Trump is a white supremacist, so he just wants to kick out anyone who's not white. That's it. Ta-da! That's Donald Trump's entire immigration plan, is to kick out everyone who's not white. So to that end, like, it's kind of frustrating for other Republicans who actually do want to do something because they can't, because the ones who are loyal to Donald Trump refuse to do anything about it. Listen to Senator Langford.
That are not being enforced. So why give him this in an election year, the cover of this deal that...
Oh man, we're here. I gotta hold on. Media Player Classic. Say again.
That are not being enforced. So why give him this in an election year, the cover of this deal that, you know, critics say is still going to let a lot of people in, but he gets to take a victory lap that he's gotten something done.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going to let a bunch of people in. It's focused on actually turning people around on it. It is interesting. Republicans 4 months ago would not give funding for Ukraine, for Israel, and for our southern border because we demanded changes in policy. So we actually locked arms together and said, we're not going to give you money for this. We want a change in law. And now it's interesting, a few months later, when we're finally getting to the end, they're like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't want a change in law because it's a presidential election year. We all have an oath to the Constitution, and we have a commitment to say we're going to do whatever we can to be able to secure the border. Just as a quick, for instance, the last 4 months, we've had 50 people cross our border on the terror watch list. 50. We've had tens of thousands of people that were declared by this administration a national security risk that came across our border and were released. It is our constitutional obligation to be able to secure our country as fast as we can secure our country. This puts in mandatory pieces that haven't been there in the past to make this administration actually enforce the law. I would tell you that I don't know of anyone that believes that if President Trump was elected, well, he was president right now, this border would not have this problem. So the thought that somehow President Biden can suddenly be the national security president in the...
I don't understand what he's saying. Well, he gave away the thing in the beginning. Republicans were 4 months ago were talking about border, and now that they have a chance to do it, they refuse to do it. Why do they refuse to do it? Because Donald Trump told them not to make a deal. But Republicans are pretty gullible. They're easily manipulated and tricked. So, so even though Donald Trump is the reason why Republicans won't solve the border, Republican voters don't comprehend it. They can't comprehend it. They can't understand that Donald Trump told the Republicans not to make a deal. So instead, they're following the lead of Greg Abbott, governor of Texas. Greg Abbott is rebelling against the United States right now. He was ordered, like, he set up razor wire to kill people who cross the border. Well, the border is not his to defend, right? That's federal. That's federal. That's the purview of the federal government. And Greg Abbott refuses to abide by the law in the United States. Kind of like the Confederates refused to abide by the law in the United States. And so he's trying to force some kind of confrontation between the federal government and Texas, so he can show his people that I don't know. So he can, like, feed red meat to his people. He's like, even though Donald Trump told us not to solve the border problem, I'm gonna make it a problem anyways. Like, I'm gonna blame Joe Biden because Donald Trump ordered me not to solve the border problem. That's kind of where we're at. And Republican voters are like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty upset at Republicans right now. So to that end, Russia is helping Texas because, you know, Russia wants to destroy the United States. So they would love it if Texas seceded. So here's a Russian dude saying that he wants to offer, that Russia is offering to help Texas secede from the United States to start another civil war. Because that's like the main thing Russia wants is a civil war. That would really take out the United States from the world. It's like, you can't be the leader if you're in a civil war. But it's not just Senator Langford that talks about how Donald Trump ordered Republicans not to fix the border. It's also Romney, Senator Romney.
It's a very important issue. issue for Donald Trump, and the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border, and someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, "Hey, save that problem. Don't solve it. Let me take credit for solving it later."
So yeah, that's Donald Trump's plan. That's exactly what Donald Trump wants to do. So I mean, you can tell Republicans are don't talk in good faith. They're pretty evil. I would say they're evil. So this is a Reddit comment, but it encapsulates the bad faith of Republicans really, really well. So this is by a user by Canopy. Circumventing the legislating process isn't the same thing as working within the framework and disagreeing with it. Republicans at all levels are utilizing the weaknesses in the system as features. So that's true, right? Oregon Republicans did the same thing. They found a loophole in the Oregon Constitution, and they exploited it to get more power. Nowhere in the Oregon Constitution does the Constitution give the legislators a legislative veto, which is to say a way of blocking legislation with a minority of votes. Nowhere in the Oregon Constitution does it say that you can do that. But Republicans, it doesn't say you can't do that either. So Republicans utilized that loophole for 5 years in a row to block legislation in Oregon. Like, the voters didn't give them that power. They didn't have enough votes to stop the legislation because the voters don't agree with them. The voters gave the power to the Democratic Party and not to the Republican Party. But the Republicans don't really abide by democracy. So they found a loophole in the Oregon Constitution and exploited it for 5 years until the people of Oregon passed a voter referendum saying if you do this 10 times, you can't run for office anymore. Well, the Oregon Republicans don't really abide by democracy. So they did it again. They did it again. And then the Secretary of State said, "Oh, okay, well, by this law, you're not allowed to run for office." Well, they don't abide by democracy. So Oregon Republicans sued in order to overturn the will of the people so that they can continue to give themselves a legislative veto that's not in the Constitution. Well, they lost, right? So, yay! So they're not going to be able to run in 2024. And that will give pause to other legislators, other Republican legislators, if they want to do the same thing again. I mean, sure, you can do it again, but you've just ended your political career. So anyways, that's an example of how Republicans utilize weaknesses in this system to attain power. So here, let me continue. If you don't like a bill and you're in the minority, then you vote no and lose and work to find a legal way to convince your constituents that you're in the right. That's what Democrats needed to do after the Dobbs decision. You don't grind a branch of government to halt. Similarly, if there's a bipartisan bill that will likely pass that is negotiated in good faith, Mike Johnson, then you bring it up if you're speaker. You don't only bring up bills that are the desire of one private citizen with increasingly obvious mental deterioration. Also, Mitch McConnell, you don't hold up Supreme Court nominations that occurs during one presidency, even if you don't like them. Let the process take place, and if you don't like them, then do it as it's designed. So what he's talking about is, remember how Obama had a chance to nominate a Supreme Court justice? And for 1 year, Mitch McConnell said, "Oh, you have the votes to get this person in, but I don't like you, so I'm not going to bring up the guy for a vote." So Mitch McConnell held open a Supreme Court seat for 1 year until after the election so that it could be filled by Donald Trump. So that's an example of Republicans utilizing the weaknesses of the American system to gain power. Because they operate in bad faith. That horse. Okay. Let's see. Greg Abbott. If the Supreme Court says you need to listen to the federal authority, you don't get to say, no, I don't, because there's a manufactured crisis by Republicans who refuse to bring a bipartisan bill up for a vote on it to help fix it in the House. So, so Greg Abbott says, oh, I'm not going to abide by the Supreme Court because Republicans are blocking the solution in the House. That's basically against the law. But of course, Republicans don't really adhere to democracy. All right, Donald Trump. If you lose an election, you don't get to call up the election commissioner in various states and tell them to find you votes and stage an insurrection to stop the counting process. Right? Right? Like, we've already been through this. Like, how many times? But Donald Trump doesn't really abide by democracy. He wants to be a dictator. So of course, right? Of course. Also, Tommy Tuberville. You don't get to hold up military promotions because you don't like abortion laws. This is systemic, and we don't have a country until Republicans begin to play by the rules again. But they're not going to. Republicans are not going to play by the rules. The whole Republicans are anti-democratic. They want to install a dictatorship. Of white supremacy Christian rule. That's what they want. So they're never going to change. They're never going to change. Like, in fact, they've slowly morphed into what they are today. Like, remember, conservatives love to bring up the fact that 150 years ago, 150 years ago, Republicans were the progressive party. Republicans were the party of Lincoln. Yeah, 150 years ago, they seem to forget that in 1948, all the Dixiecrats, the Confederates, left the Democratic Party and joined the Republican Party. And then it's just gotten worse from there. So here's an example of how Republicans are absolutely utter liars. So, as you know, in the 2020 to 2022 election, or session, Democrats had control of all three branches of government: the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So they were able to pass a bunch of good bills against Republican opposition. Republicans always voted against it, but because Democrats had more power, they were able to pass those bills anyways. And what do those bills do? They helped the American people. They were bills to help the American people, and Republicans voted against it. Well, now here we are, a year later, and Republicans always do this because the press never calls them out. But essentially what Republicans do is they go back to their constituents and say, oh, look all the money we're getting. Aren't you glad I'm your representative? Look all the money I'm bringing you. And then they forget to mention the fact that they voted against the money that the state is getting. Here's an example.
Last month, you were at FIU and you presented a check for $650,000 to help small businesses at FIU. But you voted against the bill that gave the money that you then signed a check for and handed and had a photo op, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023, right?
Yep.
You voted against that bill.
Yep.
Right now, you have to give me more details, but I do.
So now she's going to start trying to dodge, right? She's going to do a matrix dodging. Remember, she's doing matrix dodging. She's dead. Because it's true. Because the Republicans vote against these bills. And then when they lose the vote, and they go back to their constituents and say, look what I brought you, even though they voted against it.
Know that every time I have an opportunity to bring money to my constituents, I do so.
But that's not true. You just lied. She just lied. She had an opportunity and she voted against it. That's the whole point of this question, right? She just lied in the face of the question. The question is, so you voted against a chance to bring your constituents money, and she said, oh, every time I get a chance I do it. No, we just said you didn't do it. So she's denying reality. She's a liar.
You remember?
I just did $400,000. But look,
well, you voted against the Chips and Science Act, right?
Listen,
Yes.
right now I need to ask my staff. But
See, the things that she's trying to dodge. Yes, she did vote against it, of course, but she can't say that. She's got to say, oh, let me check with my staff.
what do we look at the $40 million that
And now she's trying to deflect. Now she's like, instead of talking about how I vote against money, let's talk about this other stuff that makes me look good. That's what she's doing.
I have brought to this community.
No,
aren't you proud of me? Aren't you proud?
Aren't you proud of me? What? No, dude, you voted against the money that you're now claiming. You're a liar, is what he's saying to you. That's not. You don't get pride for that.
The $40 million
But how much? But how
Aren't you
much?
proud that I wrote the Dignity Act? Haven't I? Let's talk about the Americas Act.
Wait.
So she only wants to talk about. You can see her preferred topics, what she wants to talk about. She doesn't like getting called out. She doesn't want to get called out the fact that she voted against these bills that she's now claiming credit for. She doesn't want to talk about it.
Wait a second. Let me 1 second.
Tell me.
The money that you talk about, the $40 million that you bring back to the district, sometimes that money comes from bills that you voted against. You voted against the CHIPS Act, and yet you praise the fact that the South Florida Climate Resilience Tech Hub is going to be started in Miami, right? You voted against the infrastructure bill, and you talk about all the money that comes back to the airport. So at the same time that you're taking credit for the money that you bring back to the district, in Washington, you're voting against these projects on party line votes.
Yes. Now she's like the rest of the time she's gonna try to dismiss it, but that's true, right? That's true. The Republicans always vote against these bills and then go back home and then tell their constituents, look at the great stuff I did. No, every fucking time, every time. Like the infrastructure bill should have been bigger, right? It should have been bigger. The states should have got more money to do their stuff, but Republicans fought against it so hard that was the best they could do. And then the Republicans go back and say, look at the great things I did for you. Every fucking time. And Republican voters are so gullible that they just go along with it.
Listen, that was, I think, last cycle. I cannot really remember right now, but just...
Oh, yeah, see how her memory fails her now? Oh, yeah, I can't remember now. Oh, yeah.
Look, this...
Yeah, I don't want to listen to your bullshit. So... Yeah, every time. Oh yeah, quickly. Oregon state Republicans cannot run for office again after walking out. Josh Hawley explains that it was never really about the border at all, right? Explicitly tying the GOP's border security grandstanding to a coordinated effort to hurt President Joe Biden's re-election chances. They're not complaining about the border because it's a serious issue. They're complaining about the border because they're trying to get Donald Trump elected. They only care about power. Dude, there's so much bullshit. I don't want to talk about all this stuff. I'm so, like...
Senator, is this deal dead, effectively?
I hope so. It should be. If it's not dead yet, it should be dead. I mean, there is absolutely no reason to agree to policies that will just further... Yeah.
So he's basically following Donald Trump's lead. Donald Trump told him, hey, look, guys, kill this. It's a big issue. It's a big emergency, but let's save it till after I'm elected. So is it a big emergency, or is it just something you want to save until to get you elected? Dude, I don't even want to do this anymore. I have all this stuff. I don't care anymore. Not that I don't care anymore, but I'm like... It's like Republican voters are gullible. and brainwashed. So it's not like I'm going to convince them. I can't I can show them all the facts, and it won't sink in, because they're locked into the cult. The only way you're going to get out of this is if the United States finds Donald Trump guilty of treason and executes him. All of Donald Trump essentially wields a cult of personality, and a cult, you don't solve a cult of personality by rationalizing or reasoning people. You don't sit there and talk to people and show them stuff and they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that, I guess I shouldn't be in this cult. No, that's never going to change their mind. The power is invested in the cult leader, and that cult leader is Donald Trump. So if you can't execute Donald Trump like he should be, because he's a traitor, then you should apply consequences for him trying to overthrow the government. But Donald Trump has been evading consequences this entire time. Like, it's been like, in no other country, in no other democracy would a coup leader be able to run for president again. Like Adolf Hitler staged a coup, and it failed, and he was supposed to be imprisoned for 10 years. He didn't even serve 10 years. He only served a few years, and then he got out. And then he went on to get elected president of Germany, and that's when he overthrew German democracy and seized power. So far the United States is traveling the same path as Nazi Germany. Because the United States is not able to hold accountable the coup leaders. Or if they are, it's too slow to do so. The United States is just too slow to hold people of power accountable. Like, as it is now, you're going to think, well, where's the Donald Trump court cases? Well, back in December, Donald Trump made a stupid argument saying, oh, if you're president, you're immune. You have absolute immunity if you're president. You know who else made that argument? Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon said if the president does it, it's not illegal. So, yeah, those are dictators, right? They want to be a dictator. So Donald Trump says, oh yeah, your constitution's bullshit. I'm dictator. I can do whatever I want. So now it's sitting in a court, and they're studying, they're looking really, really closely to say, is that really true that Donald Trump is a dictator and there's nothing we can do about it? Why would you need weeks and weeks and weeks to figure out that it's no? The answer is no. You're not immune. You're held to the same standard as everyone else. No one is above the law. Of course, that's obvious, dude. It's obvious, but for some reason, it's taking forever to make a decision. And even then, it's gonna get appealed to the Supreme Court. And in the Supreme Court, at least 2 Supreme Court justices are on Team Trump, no matter what. They're loyal to Trump. Thomas and Alito. No matter what, they're gonna vote for Donald Trump. They're gonna say that Donald Trump can do whatever he wants because they're bribed. Both those guys are bribed, and it's not like I'm just making like vague accusations. Like, there's been plenty of reports that talk about just how those justices have been bribed. I mean, there's no mechanism in the United States to investigate and remove a bad Supreme Court justice, which is kind of a deficiency, right? It's kind of shitty that we don't have a way of getting rid of bad Supreme Court justices who are obviously bribed. And that's going to screw up our entire country because the Supreme Court wields so much power. And they're not even elected, and they're there for life. There's no way to get rid of them. So yeah, the United States has some problems. Like, I have all this, there's just so much shit, dude. Here, for an example. These states are Republican governors standing with Texas in rebellion, right? Texas is rebelling against the United States. And all these states are, the governors who are Republicans, all say they stand with Texas. weird because it's also the same states that want to outlaw trans people. Why would the Confederacy be the same group that wants to outlaw trans people? Because they're both Nazis. They're all Nazis. They're Nazis, dude. Republicans are Nazis. All this stuff I don't even want to talk about. But yeah, I think this cartoon's great. So during the Cold War, it used to be that Republicans and Democrats were lockstep in opposition to Russia. But ever since Donald Trump, it's changed. Since Donald Trump, now the Republicans are on Team Russia and against the Democrats, who are pretty much the only ones defending the United States now. Because Republicans have totally sold out to the Russians. And like I can show you all the evidence, right? All the Americans have already said so, but Republicans don't trust Americans. Republicans trust Vladimir Putin. Because Vladimir Putin is the strong man, and part of the cult of personality is that you gravitate towards strong people. Not what's right, not what's true, but to what looks strong. And Vladimir Putin is not strong at all, dude. He's weak. His army has been decimated. He has to cling on to power. Like, he's always looking over his shoulder for someone to stab him in the back, and he's like indebted to China now because he's been doing so badly against Ukraine. So he's not strong at all, but he puts off the vibe of being a strong man, and Republicans dig that because they're Nazis. Yeah, what is it? Are Republicans Nazis or are they gullible? Little A, little B. Yeah, I don't even want to keep going. Oh yeah, real quick. So February is Black History Month. February is Black History Month. Remember, enslaved Africans were the people who literally built the White House. They literally built the White House. Enslaved Africans. 250 years later, Confederates would try to take over the Capitol in service to white supremacy. Because Donald Trump represents white supremacy, for sure. That's why all the Nazis and Confederates are Republicans. It's because Republicans are white supremacy. It doesn't matter how much evidence you show them, how much history you show them. It's not about reason. It's about the cult. And that's why you need to deal with the leader of the cult. I don't know. I think Joe Biden fell into a trap. Netanyahu and Trump and Putin are all on the same team. Because they all represent the dictatorships. And it could have been that Netanyahu planned October 7th. Sounds kind of conspiratorial, right? I don't have any evidence of it. But if he didn't plan it, then he absolutely exploited it to pursue his own agenda, which is the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. He used the hostages as an excuse to murder all those Palestinian people in hopes that they would leave Gaza and that he could take it over for Israel. And Joe Biden, being an idiot, being stupid, is letting Netanyahu drag him into a war in the Middle East. That does a couple things. It helps Netanyahu out, right? But it also helps out Vladimir Putin. Because if the U.S. is involved in a Middle East war, it can't help out Ukraine. And if it can't help out Ukraine, then that means Russia can take over Ukraine and then move on to attacking the rest of Europe. Because remember, Donald Trump already said he's not going to abide by NATO anymore. So, like, it's pretty clear that if you care about democracy in Europe, you're not going to vote for Donald Trump. But remember, a lot of Americans are fascists. So they may not care about democracy. They may not care about anybody else except for the leader. So here's something that was interesting. It could be that Republican voters are maybe not Republican voters are gullible, but well, yeah, they're gullible. But a big part of what's going on, it's like, well, how can Republicans still support Donald Trump when he's such a criminal? That's a valid question, right? It's a reasonable question. How could you support a person to be the ultimate executor of law if the person's a criminal and breaks the law all the time? How can you support him? Well, one answer is they don't know that he's a criminal. They don't know. They literally don't know. They don't know. They did a poll, YouGov.com or org or something, did a poll, and they asked people of each party and independents, like, what do you think about, do you know about this particular issue that Donald Trump is in? Do you know about that particular issue that Donald Trump's in? And they found out that most Republicans don't even know that Donald Trump has committed these crimes. They don't even know. So here, check this out. So, to your knowledge, the first question, has Donald Trump ever been found liable for sexually assaulting, defaming writer E. Jean Carroll? So we all know yes, right? Two times so far. One time for $5 million. Then he defamed her again, so she got sued again, and this time it was $83 million. So that happened. That's real, right? Donald Trump is liable for sexual assault. He's liable. That makes him a rapist, right? Donald Trump is a rapist. So overall, 55% of Americans knew that Donald Trump is a rapist, found by a court of law. Well, civilly found liable for rape. Of Biden voters, most Biden voters, big majority of Biden voters knew that Donald Trump sexually assaulted Jean Carroll and had to pay money for it. Most Democrats also. Of independents, it's 50-50. Maybe you knew that Donald Trump had to pay $83 million because he shoved his fingers up in a place where he shouldn't have. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. It's a coin toss, right? Like, this guy I'm going to vote for, I don't know that he's been found by a court to have sexually assaulted. That sounds pretty bad for you, right? If that's you. So of Republicans, only 45% of Republicans knew that Donald Trump had been found liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. Trump voters, the majority of them knew, but only because I bet it was against Trump. All right, next one. Did you know that Trump has been sued for fraudulently inflating the value of his properties to obtain favorable loans and tax benefits? So right now, Donald Trump is on trial in New York for fraud, for tax fraud. So what he did was, Donald Trump lied about how much his companies and his properties were worth so that he could get big loans from banks. Because he goes, I have all this collateral. My properties are worth billions and billions of dollars. You can give me a fat loan because I have all these properties as collateral and they're worth lots of money to the banks, right? So then to the federal government, he says, "Oh God, I'm almost broke. These properties are hardly worth anything. Like they're worth nothing. They're actually a liability. So you can't tax me on them because they're worthless." Same property, right? But to the bank, he says they're worth billions. But to the federal government, he says they're worthless. So that way, he gets huge loans from the bank because he's using his property as collateral. At the same time as he's paying no taxes to the federal government because he tells them the properties are worthless. The same property is worthless. So he's on trial for that. He's already lost. He already lost. They already found that he committed fraud. So right now we're in the damages phase. They're trying to figure out what are the damages that Donald Trump has to pay for doing this crime of fraud. And the decision was supposed to come on January 31st. It was supposed to come January 31st, but the judge didn't do it. And everyone was like, "What the fuck, Judge? Why didn't you, like, another delay? Come on. Why another delay? Jesus Christ. Every time it's delayed. Every time. And every time it's delayed, things get worse. So why, Judge? Why would you delay your decision again?" Well, turns out one of the court overseers, or the court people, who was in charge of tracking Donald Trump's money, found something. She found that one of Donald Trump's companies, dude, I'm like talking super loud, but all right. She found that one of Donald Trump's companies gave Donald Trump a $50 million loan. And then, so it was his own company, right? So himself. He gave himself a $50 million loan, which he himself, as a person, kept on the books all the time. I have a $50 million loan as a liability. So for tax purposes, that lowers his tax liability because he has less wealth and more debt. However, this court finance person found out that loan never actually happened. Donald Trump never actually loaned himself $50 million. Which means Donald Trump has been claiming a debt that he doesn't have so that he can pay less taxes and make his wealth appear to look less than it actually is for purposes of damages. Right? The court is not going to charge you $1 million if all you own is like $50. But if the court finds out that you say you have $50, but in an offshore bank account you have $5 billion, the court's going to look real bad on you. And that's what happened to Donald Trump. Donald Trump told the court that his net value was much lower than it actually is because Donald Trump was hiding his wealth, and they found it. The court people found it. So that's going to delay the judge's decision a couple weeks because he's got to incorporate this new information into his judgment. So it's not all bad. So we gotta wait a couple weeks to find out what happens to Donald Trump's company in New York. So what we're thinking, what some people think might happen, is that New York has something called the corporate death penalty. It's not called that, but it's essentially the corporate death penalty. That if you're found to have violated laws in New York, that New York can absolutely ban your company from existing, doing business in New York. And that includes New York City, which is like the international financial hub. Like that's where the stock exchange is. If you can't go do business in New York, you can't be in the stock exchange. Like you can't do anything. So yeah, that would absolutely destroy Donald Trump's. That means that means a bunch of his businesses get kicked out, and he loses all this money. So who knows? That happens in 2 weeks. It keeps getting delayed. I hate it every time. It kills me. Oh yeah, because the courts are taking so long to figure out if Donald Trump is dictator. That means, you know how another court case. Okay, wait, before I get, let me finish this one. All right. Did you know that Donald Trump has been charged with falsifying business records to conceal hush money payments to a porn star? Remember that one? So, during the presidential campaign, before the presidential campaign, Donald Trump is married to immigrants. Two immigrants to America. That's his wives, Ivanka Trump and Melania Trump. And while Melania Trump was pregnant and giving birth to his son Barron Trump, Donald Trump found another woman that he liked, and that was her porn star name. I don't know her real name, but her performer name is Stormy Daniels. So he and Stormy Daniels, he charmed Stormy Daniels, and they engaged in sexual intercourse. They had sex. Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels while his pregnant wife Melania was giving birth to his son. Well, that kind of thing, information getting out might look bad on Donald Trump. So Donald Trump made Stormy Daniels sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that if I pay you $150,000, you will not talk about what happened here. And Stormy Daniels agreed. She's like, dude, I just got paid $150,000 to not talk about the sex I had with Donald Trump while he's married. So she's like, okay. Well, something happened, and it got out anyways. It got out anyways that's what Donald Trump had done. And I think Stormy Daniels sued him, and she lost. I don't know if she lost or won. I don't know what happened. But that's not really the issue. The issue isn't that Donald Trump paid someone for labor, right? Because it's labor, right? Sex is labor. That's sex work. I've used the old term prostitution because I'm an old Gen Xer. Well, I'm not even an old Gen Xer, but I'm a Gen Xer. So I have this old vocabulary. So the issue isn't that Donald Trump paid someone for sex work. That's not the issue. There's nothing inherently wrong with people selling their labor for sex. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. That's fine. That's not the issue. The issue is that Donald Trump used campaign funds to pay for it. He had his lawyer, Michael Cohen, pay it and then lie about it. And then he paid back Michael Cohen with small checks over time. So that happened. That's real. But let's look at the people who knew about it. Biden voters knew about it. Democrats knew about it. Independents kind of knew about it, but Republicans did not know that Donald Trump paid Stormy Daniels to have sex. They didn't know. I don't know why they didn't know. Maybe they didn't believe it. I don't know. But are you starting to see a pattern here? Republicans, and even Trump voters didn't really know. So the pattern I want you to see is that systemically Republican voters are ignorant of what's been going on. Either ignorant or I don't want to call them stupid, but they're ignorant of what's happening with Donald Trump. They're ignorant of their own candidate. Now, they make all sorts of allegations about Joe and Hunter Biden, but they have been unable to prove any of them. They want you to do the work. I know exactly what they do. They'll make these stupid fucking allegations and then say, you go prove it if it's wrong. Or you prove it that it's wrong. And then, so you can go off and do all the research, all the work, and you're trying to prove a negative, and you're like, no, dude, it's not there. And you come back and you tell them, and they throw it all away and they laugh at you. You've just spent a bunch of labor and they just laugh at you anyways. It's the worst. It's the worst. So you would think then it'd be the other way around. Oh, you have all these allegations of Joe and Hunter Biden? Where's the proof? Oh, look, you don't have any. But instead of accepting, oh yeah, you're right, I don't have any proof, they keep hounding at it anyways because they're stupid. Are they stupid? Yeah, they must be stupid, right? Why else would you keep going when you know that you're wrong? Well, you don't know. They don't know they're wrong. They just their idea. They're more into truthiness, not what's actually there, but what feels like it should be there. They're deluded. Delulu. Okay, so then they asked, did you know that Donald Trump has been charged with taking highly classified documents from the White House and obstructing efforts to retrieve them? So that's the whole Florida trial, right? The Florida trial with corrupt Judge Eileen Cannon. Donald Trump, after he lost the presidency and had to leave the White House, stole a bunch of top secret documents and then just took it with him. And then some went to they went to Mar-a-Lago, and he didn't keep them in a super secure place. He just kept them wherever. So he stole a bunch of secrets. So then the FBI came by and said, hey guy, we're like missing documents. Do you know where they are? And he said, nope. Ah! And then they found out that, hey, we found out that you actually do have them. Mind if we come by and grab them? He's like, go ahead. And so the FBI comes by and grabs them and says, is that all of them? And Donald Trump said, yup. But he lied. Ah! There were more documents because they were checking. They're like, oh, look, we're still missing documents. So they went back and asked him, hey, are you sure you gave us all the documents? And Donald Trump said, yep, we gave you all of them. But he lied. He lied because we know that Donald Trump took a bunch of the documents he stole and sent them to Bedminster, New Jersey, one of his other houses, or where his golf course is or something. So we know that he stole even more documents, and no one knows where those went, right? No one knows where they went. Did he seal them? Did he and some people think that the reason why the Iranians were able to kill 3 of our guys was because they got documents from Donald Trump that taught them how to bypass our defenses. Donald Trump sold them to the Iranians, is what I'm saying. That's why he stole all the documents and lied about it, because he sells the secrets. He's going to sell them to get money for himself. But Republicans are like, yeah, I love this guy. He killed three U.S. soldiers. He's great. Go American. So are Republicans stupid, or are they Nazis? A little A, a little B. So then they ask, did you know that Donald Trump has been charged with conspiring to overturn the results of an election? And overall, 56% knew that, yes, he had been charged with conspiring to overthrow the election. Most Biden voters knew. Most Democrats knew. Independents, it was 50-50. Either maybe you knew, maybe you didn't. 50-50. But for Republicans, the majority of Republicans did not know that Donald Trump had been charged with trying to overthrow the election. They didn't know that. Are they stupid? Or what's the deal? I'm going to move this over here. All right. And then then he's, we ask, did you know that Donald Trump has been charged with attempting to obstruct the certification of the election? Overall, it was 50-50. Biden voters knew. Most Democrats knew. Most independents didn't know that Donald Trump had been charged with attempting to obstruct the certification of the election. None of the Republicans knew. Hardly any of the Republicans knew, and hardly any Trump voters knew that Donald Trump is charged with obstructing the certification of the election. They didn't know that. So then to double check, right? To double check. Are you saying Democrats are real smart? Is that what you're saying? Well, let's check, right? This is false. This is false. This is fake. They asked you, did you know that Donald Trump, do you think that Donald Trump has ever been charged with violating the emoluments clause by taking money from foreign governments? He has never been charged. He's done it. We know that there's evidence that he's done it, and you need, because there's evidence, we need to do an investigation. But the Republicans don't want to do an investigation into that because it would hurt their guy, right? They don't, Republicans do investigations when they don't have evidence. That's the difference. Democrats, oh look, we have evidence. Let's do an investigation. Republicans, oh, we don't have any evidence. Let's go do an investigation to see if we can find something. You see the difference? You see the difference? But I'm not saying Democrats are smart or are smarter than Republicans. They're not perfect, right? So Donald Trump has never the truth is Donald Trump, as of today, February 4th, 2024, Donald Trump has not been charged with violating the Emoluments Clause, taking bribes from foreign governments. But 40% of Biden voters thought he had. And 43% of Democrats thought he had been charged with violating the Emoluments Clause. So they're not perfect. Another one. Has Donald Trump ever been charged with facilitating drug trafficking operations? Yeah, pretty much people are like, no. That's not what Donald Trump does. He's a money launderer and a traitor, not a drug kingpin. Alright. Anyways. So, if you look at that pattern, Republican voters either don't know, are ignorant about, or on purpose refuse to believe in these negative stories about Donald Trump. Maybe it could be that they don't know because they get their information exclusively from right-wing media, and right-wing media will not talk about the crimes of Donald Trump. Never, because it's propaganda. So they will never talk about it's like, why would Nazi radio stations ever talk about the crimes of Adolf Hitler? Never. They would never talk about the crimes of Adolf Hitler. Nazi radio stations never talk about the crimes of Adolf Hitler. Just like right-wing American radio stations never talk about the crimes of Donald Trump. It's the same thing. So the reason why Trump voters or Republicans don't know about the crimes of Donald Trump is because they exclusively get their information from right-wing media, which never ever tells them. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that they just don't believe it. They just don't like they hear it. They hear the information. They hear it, but because it doesn't come from from Fox News, they don't believe it. So it's not real. And that's a possibility too, right? Because a lot of Donald Trump's power comes from the cult of personality. That it's not about his it's not about the truth, it's about the power and charisma he exudes that makes people want to follow him. So it's like a magic trick, in other words. It's the same magic trick that Adolf Hitler used. And Mussolini. Don't get it twisted, right? Fuck the Italian fascists. Mike Pompeo, fucking traitor. Anyways, where was I at? Yeah, trying to figure out why don't Republicans know about the crimes of Donald Trump? Is it because they only listen to Fox News? Is it because they're in a cult of personality? I mean, of course, then there's the actual Nazis, the people who are fully aware, they fully know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose to manipulate others. It's like gaslighting. So, yeah, those are like Stephen Miller, and I would even say Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump, he knows. So, like, yeah, he knows what he's saying is a lie. But he doesn't care. He's not there to tell you the truth. He's there to manipulate you into giving him more power. Man, I got all this stuff. I can talk shit about Joe Biden. Easy. It's easy to talk shit about Joe Biden. Why? Because he's facilitating a genocide in Gaza. And he's either, like, the most charitable thing I could say about Joe Biden is that he's stupid. Because it was an obvious trap that Netanyahu, I mean, like, he basically bear hugged the fascist and is getting the United States involved in a war that benefits the fascist. Like, the nicest thing I can say is that he's stupid. Like, if you want to tell the rest of us what's really going on, Joe Biden, if there's another reason as to why you're basically teaming up with an ally of Russia to get the United States involved in another Middle East war. Like, yeah, I want to show that one. Houthi rebels vow to respond to US-UK strikes in Yemen. Did you deter the Houthis at all? Did you do anything at all? No, dude. No, they don't care. They don't care. Your response, UK and USA, your response cost you how much money? Those jets cost how much money? The fuel cost how much money? The aircraft carrier cost how much money? The missiles, how much money? Houthis are doing it for cheap. They're spending like 1/100th of the money that you are. And you're doing nothing. You've done nothing. Your strikes did nothing. It's not going to stop anything. Because what is the source of the conflict? Like, we already know it's not going to do anything, because we can look at all the other adventures in the Middle East. Whatever happened to Iraq? So airstrikes aren't going to do anything. What's the impetus? What is the source of the problem in the Middle East? It is the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people. When did U.S. forces start to become under attack? When the genocide started, when the invasion of Gaza began. That's when the attacks against our forces began. Because there's no difference between U.S. forces and Israeli forces in the eyes of the Muslim world. They're the same thing to the Muslims. To the Muslim world. I wouldn't say all Muslims. I gotta watch out how I say that. How am I gonna say? How do I say that? I don't know how quite to define it. You gotta but to insert the Islamic extremists. Okay, that's a way of putting it. That's how I gotta put it. To Islamic extremists, there's no difference between Israel and the United States. So U.S. forces came under attack when Israel started to do the genocide. So the way you stop the attacks on U.S. forces and the attacks on the Red Sea is you stop the genocide. That's how you do it. Stop the genocide. If you want to stop the attacks, you stop the genocide. I'm not speaking as a spokesperson for the Islamic extremists. No, I have no contact with them. I'm thinking of it in rational terms, right? I'm rationally, right? Think about it. It only happened when Israel started the genocide. So, to make it stop the genocide. It just makes sense. But then I look at our response and I'm like, this is the stupidest response ever. You spent like $500 million to kill like a handful of people. And you didn't deter the behavior at all. But you spent $500 million doing so. And you can't even, and your people are like homeless and dying of cold. Dying from exposure in your own country. And you're going to spend $500 million to kill like 14 rebels. in defense of genocide. So, like, I think Joe Biden's kind of stupid. He closed himself off, you know. Did you know? He like the State Department, the U.S. State Department is like losing their minds over what's happening. But Joe Biden cut them off. He doesn't talk to them. Maybe he doesn't trust them. Maybe he knows like how deeply the Russians have infiltrated. Right? I don't know. But he cut them off. He's not listening to anybody else but these like 10 people. In like he cut off the State Department when it comes to Israel. I mean, Donald Trump for sure would help Netanyahu complete his ethnic cleansing. I mean, Donald Trump was the one who moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem unilaterally. I don't even know why I'm talking. I guess I'm telling myself so I remember. Hey, horsey. Look how slow. All right. I'm not going to tame you. You can barely move. Be free, horsey. Yeah. I don't have anyone to talk to. So I'm talking to myself. And if I didn't tell myself, I might forget. And if I forget, I will become lost. I'm gonna warm up my coffee. Okay. Remember what's at stake. What is the American project? The American project is multiracial democracy. When it started, I don't think they knew that's what it was about. Our founding fathers didn't know that they were making multiracial democracy. I mean, remember half of them were slavers, so they didn't know. Slavers didn't know that's what they were doing. Or maybe they did. Oh no, they never were. Yeah, no, I don't think they did. I think they just wanted power. They just wanted power. And the Yankees wouldn't let them have it. But the compromise they came up with in order to make it happen was the 3/5. To say, all right, these humans are only 3/5 of a human. Oh my God. It's in our Constitution, man. That doesn't ever go away. That you said that. That's the way things were. So that's like your standard, right? How far away have you moved from that? Right? If that's your, that's basically a reflection of the original sin of the United States, is the 3/5 compromise. It's codified even. So it makes a good standard. How far away from the 3/5 compromise have you moved to say that everyone is equal, that the 3/5 compromise is null and void? How far have you moved from that as a society? Like, it's Black History Month, and we're like struggling to hold on to democracy because a significant portion of the population wants a dictatorship. So right now I'm running the card, my video card, at a minus 10% power maximum. I cut 10% of its power, and it's so much like quieter and cooler, and not much change really to my experience. It's not perfect, but you know. I could make it perfect. No. By lowering the resolution. So I'm using super resolution. The real resolution I'm running at is 1080p, but it's blown up to 1440p for my monitor and for the streaming. I could lower it even more to like 900p and blow it up to 1440, but then it starts to lose detail. Bit by bit. That way I don't have to go hunting for iron. I can just come here and get it and run around instead and enjoy the experience of being in Minecraft and talk to you. I can be productive while not being productive. Same thing with this. Make the machine work for you. Ta-da! So what is this? This is an example of Jim Crow, Black History Month. It's not like I know I ought to be like discussing the great accomplishments and contributions of Black Americans to the United States. Because yeah, man, Black Americans are like an integral part of our soul. Like I see all the time the way culture flows from Black people to white people. All the time, constantly. It's always happening. So yes, there's a myriad of ways like that. Like I was at a funk concert last night. I don't know like much about it really, the history, so I can't really say that's contribution. But I know that Black Americans have contributed a great deal to music, at the very least. I mean, of course, like, and then culture is like one of the biggest exports of the United States. So that's like pretty significant. So yeah, of course there's accomplishment and greatness of Black Americans, but like, I think my audience is comprised of some white Americans as well, and like, and yeah, it's good to keep perspective. But a reminder, right? You have to remember. You have to remember, because if you forget, then you get lost. So there was a time when the law said that these were equal. There was a time when U.S. law said that there was a thing called separate but equal, which justified Jim Crow. And they said that this was equal to this. That this side. They said that this was equal to this, and this was equal to this. But you can't change. You can't interchange it. What? So that's an example. Okay, so if you think of God as being that which is, dude, I'm so loud. I should turn this down. If you think of God as being that which is, when you take away everything else, because yeah, that which is, it is what it is. That I am that I am. If you take away everything and God is that which is, all of us right now, we can all agree, all humans, right? Because we can't actually reach God, right? Maybe like on the physical level. Maybe, I don't know, I can't say that. Anyways, without even reaching to God, how about that one? That's even better. I don't even have to reach to God. I understand that God is what, it is what it is. God is what's actually there, the truth, what's actually there. God is the truth, and the truth is what's actually there. And what's actually there is actually there. And if I can see it, I'm not special. Everyone else has that same, if you have eyes, then you can see it too. So it's not just me. All these other humans, if they're truthful, will say, yeah, I perceive it the same way you do. So we can all agree that if we all perceive it to be this way, it's probably that way, unless we figure out something else. But for the most part, that's the way it is. But God's mysterious, so it can always be something else. But for the most part. So we can look at that picture. Let's look at this picture again. Dude, because I have it twice already. We can all see. Oh, no. Here, lock you, dude. You're locked. Don't do that again. We can all see that these two, these are two different drinking fountains. So what we're looking at here is the way things were under Jim Crow. The way things were under Jim Crow was that African Americans, Black Americans, were not allowed to drink or not allowed to have the same privileges, literally privileges, as white people. So if you were white, you had to drink from drinking fountains labeled white. But if you were black, you were not allowed to drink from that one. No, you can't drink from that one. Instead, you have to drink from this one. Now, see, and colored. So, and this was justified by a lawsuit, or by a ruling that said that, or a philosophy, that the two people were going to be separate, the African Americans, Black Americans, and the white Americans, that they were going to be separate but equal. And this is a reflection of that ideology. Separate but equal. Now, if we all look, you know, us, the people who follow the truth, who search for truth, not who follow the truth. The people, for us people who constantly search for the truth, it's a constant search for the truth. We all look at this, and we're gonna be like, huh? I'm gonna objectively look at this. This drinking fountain is higher up, and has a larger area to work with, on a nice button to press. And you see this plug here, it's plugged in. So the water that comes out is refrigerated. So it's gonna be cold water, and it's got a nice little faucet thing going here, and a button to use, and it's refrigerated. And then the water drains out that way. But it's only labeled white. Then I looked at the one that's colored, right? It's lower. It's smaller. It doesn't have a spigot like that. It's not refrigerated. It's not plugged into the wall. It gets its water directly from the wall here, from the tap. That's why the faucet's here, that, you know, to turn it on and off. Or actually, I don't know. But yeah, and then it drains out the same way this drains out. So it's not refrigerated. They basically made two different water fountains, one inferior and one superior, and said that one group of people has the privilege to use it and the other group of people do not have that privilege. And that was law. But that was supposed to be separate but equal. So if you're a person who you can see the truth that they're not equal, that this is unjust, right? This is not the same. But the law says that no, actually those are the same. You get a contradiction, you get a break. There's a break. Wait a minute. Me and every other rational person can look at this and be like, no, they're not equal. But this group of people and their law says yes, they are equal, and that's why it can persist. There's a break. So if we're looking at what's actually there, and they are saying, well, what's according to power? Damn it, I messed it up. They are usually their standard is different. They must be using a different standard. If us, people who pursue truth, are looking at what's actually there, they don't care what's actually there. Instead, they're imposing power. Like, and that power is the privilege of white supremacy. So it wasn't that long ago that kind of bullshit was defeated, and we got rid of this nonsense. It's a real thing, right? It's historical. It doesn't go away. It never goes away. The fact that you did that. And I say you, I'm not saying you personally, but white America. If you identify as a white American, then that is your history. I mean, I identify as an American. It doesn't even matter what color you are. That's American history. It doesn't even So the current struggles today are connected to that idea of of supremacy, of racial supremacy. That's why there's a war in Palestine. And that's why Republicans have sided with Russia. It's all ultimately a reflection of systemic racism, a giant historic racism. That racist struggle that's still going on to this day. Huh. I should have signed. That's a great idea. I have to do a little bit of work to make it happen, but I can write it here. Before I forget. No, I'm gonna use his name that he used, so people know him by. I forgot. I'll look it up. Then I gotta find the corresponding zombies. Oh, and then name tag them. Oh, can they be cured? No.
No.
But yeah. It's all stemming from the same ideology of superiority. And that kind of ideology of superiority leads to like fascism and away from democracy. Because how is I don't know what to do. Actually, I do know what to do. So I'm playing this game with a 7-year-old kid, and he wants me to speed run to the end. So I guess that's what I'm gonna do. but maybe not so quick. So yeah, I asked myself, why am I doing this show? I've been doing it for so many years now. Like, I have so many hours of this stuff. Why are they doing, or like, why am I doing this? I don't know. I'm hoping to see Donald Trump meet justice and be able to report it. In a way, this show is a defense of democracy. Identifying threats to democracy. Food. I had 3 sheep. Why am I down to 2? I might need to move the sheep out of here because wolves might spawn like inside and then eat them. Okay, well, let's see. Man, I've got so much stuff, but I don't want to go through all of it. I've already gone like 2 hours. I didn't play any Minecraft. I just like ran around. You don't want to see me play Minecraft anyways, right? You're here for the dialogue. I could keep talking. There's so much. Like, what do I even start? We already know Israel is a terrorist state. Like, so, you know, we all know that South Africa brought brought Israel to the World Court and to charge it with genocide. And the World Court did a preliminary ruling. 15 out of 17 judges agreed that Israel was committing genocide, and that anyone who adheres to the International World Court is going to take steps to make sure that Israel stops the genocide. So, but that's the thing. They don't have an enforcement mechanism. They can make any ruling they want. So when that happened, when Israel was found to be in violation of the Geneva Conventions, and it has been found to be engaging in genocide, Israel said, hey, we coerced the confessions out of these people that we have in captivity. And they said that this UN agency that helps the Palestinians is corrupt. And then that same so at the same time, right? At the same time that it was found that Israel was engaging in genocide, Israel accused the UN agency of corruption. And in response to the allegation, in response, all these nations cut off their funding to that organization. And why? And then so in response, and so what does this organization do? It's the UN RWA. Ta-da-da. What does the UN RWA do? At a glance, founded in 1949, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East is a specialized UN agency that provides Palestinian refugees with humanitarian aid, education, health, and social services. So it's working like all over the place, right? It's all over the place. And why would this organization that's all over the place helping out Palestinians be bad? Well, I mean, like, why would that be an issue? Because the goal of Israel is to ethnically cleanse the area. Where's that government guy? It's not me saying it, it's them. I mean, where do you say it? Dude, I didn't know I was going to talk about this again. I've been talking about it over and over and over again because it keeps going. Where's that Israeli official telling us? Exactly that. Right there.
בהחלט צריך לעודד הגירה, כמה שפחות יהיה לחץ ברצועת עזה של גורמים שנכון, הם אולי בלתי מעורבים עכשיו, אבל הם לא אוהבי ישראל ומחנכים את הילדים שלהם לטרור. הייתי רוצה, והיינו רוצים לראות, ודיברנו על זה בישיבות ממשלה. זה לא שאגב, אין מדינות שרוצות לקלוט אותם, אף אחד לא רוצה, גם אם נשלם להם הרבה מאוד כסף.
Do you know what that sounds like? That sounds like what happened to the Jews after World War II. What he just said, no one wants to take them. Not even if you pay them money, no one wants to take them. Who's he talking about? I don't know. Is that even a thing? Did that happen to the Jewish people that no one wanted to take the refugees after World War II? America denied refugees according to Time magazine, America denied refugees at the end of World War II. Okay, so, this is super long. 2020 marks the 75th anniversary of one of the most egregious acts of exclusion, one that has been almost stricken from the historical memory. The decision to prevent Jewish Holocaust survivors and non-Jewish victims of World War II from... Oh my god, dude, this is super important. Read it with me, guys. Snip tool. I hope that's the only one. Let's see. Yes, okay. Snip tool. Read it with me. So, I'm getting this from time.com. History. So, ...2020 marks the 75th anniversary of one of the most egregious acts of exclusion. One that has been almost stricken from historical memory. The decision to prevent Jewish Holocaust survivors and non-Jewish victims of World War II from immigrating to the United States. That's the thing. At war's end, in 1945, Europe, millions of ill-clothed, malnourished, diseased, and disoriented concentration, death, and labor camp survivors, forced laborers, and slave laborers, POWs, and political prisoners, were left to wander the roadways and haunt the town squares and marketplaces in search of food and shelter. American military forces took the lead in rounding them up, transporting them to assembly centers, and then repatriating millions to their former homes in Western Europe, Italy, and the Soviet Union. By summer's end, however, there remained left behind in Germany 1 million displaced persons who were unable or unwilling to return home or, like the Jewish survivors, had no homes to return to. The United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Agency, largely funded by the United States, was an organization organized to shelter, feed, and provide these last million victims of war with medical care in newly established DP camps, displaced person camps. They would remain there for the next 3 to 5 years while the victors in the war debated what to do with them. Okay. Do. For Jewish survivors who survived the concentration and death camps, or in hiding throughout Europe, or in deep recesses of the Soviet Union, as for the Eastern Europeans who had been violently ripped from their homes to serve as slave and forced laborers in European, the violence and brutality of war had not been magically erased with the cessation of hostilities. Okay, the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc nations demanded that the last million displaced people in Germany, with the exception of the Jews, be returned to their former homelands. Those who had committed war crimes or collaborated with the Nazis would be brought to justice. Those who had been deported to Germany as forced laborers or POWs would assist in the rebuilding of their shattered nations. The United States disagreed, as Eleanor Roosevelt, an American delegate to the United Nations, declared unequivocally, displaced persons who had committed no crimes had every right to refuse repatriation to their Soviet-dominated homelands. Over Soviet objections, the United States and its allies organized and funded the International Refugee Organization to resettle those who refused to go home again, while American representatives encouraged the nations of the world to accept, resettle, and put Eastern European displaced people to work. Congress refused to even consider allowing them to immigrate to the United States. The only exception made was for several thousand Nazi collaborators and scientists who were handpicked by the government and military officials and clandestinely transported to the United States to use their expertise and knowledge to help fight the Cold War. Holy shit. Congress refused to even allow considering them to immigrate to the United States. The only exception made was for several thousand Nazi collaborators and scientists who were handpicked by the government and military officials and clandestinely, secretly, transported to the United States to use their expertise and knowledge to fight the Cold War. So they let in a bunch of Nazis, but not these Jewish people, basically. I think. For Jewish survivors, America's refusal to open its gates was particularly cruel. Barred by the British from immigrating to Palestine and denied resettlement in IRO nations whose governments considered them too damaged, too clannish, too dangerous, and either incapable or unwilling to do the hard work required of them, America remained the Jewish survivors' best and last hope of escaping quasi-captivity in German DP camps. For 3 full years, the U.S. Congress ignored the plight of the last million. Only in June of 1948 did Congress pass a bill authorizing the admission of 20,000 or 200,000 displaced people, but barring the immigration of the 90% of Jewish survivors who, after spent the war years in Soviet Union and/or the first months of the post-war period in Poland, were accused of being communist sympathizers or operatives. No such security measures were written into law to guard against the entry of the thousands of Nazi collaborators and war criminals who had lied their way into the displaced persons camps. The outcry against the discriminatory nature of the first Displaced Persons Act was such that it was amended 2 years later to remove the restrictions. Okay. So 75 years later, the American government refused to admit the Jewish people, and the current administration is waging a war against against those in need of refuge and asylum. So, isn't what's going on like they're basically like it's like the rehash of this? The Israelis are treating the Palestinians the way that Congress treated Jewish people. It's like, we don't want you, get out of here. Even worse, really, because they're actually like there to steal their land. I don't know. The whole point is that this is getting the United States involved in a war in the Middle East that doesn't help the United States. It helps some Israeli fascist, and that's it. So it's not in the interest of the United States to get involved in that. It is in the interest of the United States to help Ukraine defend its democracy against Russia. Again, I can like prove it all I want, like, or like, but like it'll never be enough. Yeah, so the UN agency is the enemy of not the enemy. How do I say it? It's an obstacle in the way of Israel ethnically cleansing Palestine, because it actively helps the Palestinian people to like live in Gaza. and the goal of the Israeli government is to get rid of the people who live in Gaza. So they have opposite goals. So that the way that the United States cut its funding for the pro-Palestinian organization so quickly in response to Israel being found guilty of genocide kind of shows the hand of the American government. Like, the American government is firmly on the side of genocide. And that is the problem. Because America is on the side of genocide, it's being attacked. Its troops are being attacked. So sure, you can say, like, it's not just the interests of the United States. Specifically, it's in the interests of our service members. It's in the interests of our service members that the United States not get involved in genocide. Because if the United States is involved in genocide, they become under attack. Like, it's all tied together, guys. Because they're the ones we're at the contact of where the rubber meets the road. So if you care about the well-being of our service members, you will encourage. I don't know. We got to do something to make sure that the United States does not get involved in another Middle Eastern war. So the last time we got involved in another Middle Eastern war was the Iraq War, and I was young, man. I was a lot younger than I am now, and I went to like the world's largest simultaneous protest against the war. And the very next day, George W. Bush announced that the United States was at war. So it like traditional, I don't know, that it didn't seem to do anything. So I don't know what it is. They have police tactics now, and a lot more brutal, it seems. I don't know, maybe they were always brutal. They were worse brutal, man. Come on. keep thinking like 2024 is like a big year. What else do I got? I was explaining that, yeah, sucks. All the experiments with giving people $1,000 a month, they spend the no strings attached cash mostly on housing, a study found. Just the headlines, but I mean, kind of tracked with what I already know. Like all the administrative burdens that American society imposes upon poor people doesn't do anything to address the poor person's poverty or misery, or it doesn't save them energy to nurture themselves and their potential. It just costs energy for no reason. It makes them do work for nothing. That's administrative burdens. Making people do work for nothing. Like, maybe there might be a reason, right? Like, maybe you have to like make an account or something. I don't know. But it all costs like energy to do it, and then to maintain it. So having all these like restrictions and like government bureaus and office workers and like computers and stuff to keep track of the benefits, like, when really the best way to do it is just give them cash. And not even them, but like literally everybody. Like, give everyone cash. Give everyone like $1,000. And like, the thing is that I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You can't just do that because they will just raise prices to compensate. Everything would cost $1,000 more. Rent would be just $1,000 more. That's all. That sucks. Your rent's gonna be at least $1,000. So, oh, everyone gets $1,000 a month check. Great, your rent's gonna be at least $1,000, and and then we can go from there. No, but maybe not everybody. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Universal basic income. I think it would be a good idea to try. See, I'm playing Minecraft. Finding nuggets of coal to turn into torches to dispel darkness and stop monsters from spawning. Eh? Oh yeah, this was the lava pool, and I mined it out. I turned it all into obsidian and mined it out. Ha ha ha. Nothing remains. Run. Nope. Let's see. Oh, I didn't have a boat. I just ran here. Yeah, what else? What else? Went to a funk show last night. It was good. But man, I'm old. Ah. I went to get my jacket and it almost fell over. Am I old, or am I just lazy and haven't like gone to the gym or anything? I haven't done nothing. All right. Dude, I don't. Naruto. The valet at the center of the Mar-a-Lago documents case was only hired by Trump after the Navy pulled him from the White House amid sexual misconduct allegations from multiple women. So in other words, Trump knew that he was going to get in trouble and pulled him out of it and said, hey, work for me. Because that's another layer of blackmail, right? That's how you maintain loyalty. It's like if you don't follow my orders, then like I have to tell people about your sexual misconduct in the White House, and then your life would be ruined. You don't want that, do you? And they're like, no, I'll do whatever you want. Like that's basically what's going on. So that's because people are thinking, dude, why is this fucking valet driver so loyal to Donald Trump? Like he's not like responsible for this. Why is he like even in on this? And it turns out the reason why he's in on it is because he's like already compromised. And Donald Trump was concealing that the consequences of his actions in exchange for his loyalty. So that's why he's making the stupid decision of sticking with Donald Trump. So good on who's this person who found it? Roger Stoltenberg. Stoltenberg, yeah. Roger Stoltenberg. Let's see. I don't care. Da. Yeah. It's the same thing. How can the United States say it's about human rights while it supports a genocide? How can you say that? Like, I think, yeah. I'm a one state solution guy with right of return and equal rights for everyone. So like basically the opposite of an ethno state. But Netanyahu is also a one state guy, but he wants that one state to be Israel, and that's it. An ethno state. Major distinction. Major distinction. Nope, not fast. Okay. Gotta look for those fast horses. Remember, I'm doing this for myself. No. So I remember. Because it's so much. It's a lot. It's like constant to keep on top of it. We're in an information war. And I don't think people understand the implications of that. Alright, I think that's enough. Peace. Pogo Kiddo out. Stop.